Guys, how's it going? It's MJ. I guess I'm like a day late on the new moon energy report. I'm still, I suppose, sitting intuitively regarding even doing the full moon and new moon reports. They are certainly, I guess you could say, heightened energy portals, energetically speaking, and so people tend to feel the height of an energetic cycle around the new moon and full moon energies. At the same time, I'm very aware that we as divine creators don't give our power away in fear, right? We don't go, it's the moon, I'm going crazy, or Mercury retrograde, that's why all this stuff is happening, but rather turn it around as a reflection of how we can grow and expand in a cyclical way, hence dissolving the construct of linear time, right? So when we dissolve linear time, we expand and into a kind of cyclical perception, um, much more multidimensional, some people would say, because we're aware of always being in the container of our own vibrational awareness, right? And so we're aware of what we're constantly choosing. And this new moon to me is really potently shifting us into our like integrity beyond, and really forcing us to look at these deeper intuitive insights around emotional abuse, the shades of how we abuse ourselves and one another, and um, deny that clarity because of fear, basically, and deny, our own, like, what we're seeing out of our own fear as well. And it's not really surprising. Hey, Tech Victor, nice to see you live as well. It's not surprising that we're seeing the war break out in such a massive way as these accelerated energies are being revealed, being lifted. So us in this generation, moving into what are we going to stand for? What are we going to stand up for? So this Aries new moon is asking us to be the warriors, asking us to be the warriors of a fierce love and compassion. And I suppose what I'm having to traverse are the shades of the subtle ways I've given my power away to people, and now the ways that I'm really having to integrate, like, um dysfunction masked as love, and support, or like love masked as control and domination. I've been sitting with this actually for a few years. Some people, like, who come in and out of my reality would talk about the false light, and this is like another veil of the rabbit hole, you could say, the false light. This idea of escaping, or like just think positive, like la la la, and so there's this whole collective imprint of like bypassing the work that we have to do here in the present moment, i.e., bypassing what we're carrying emotionally, and continually giving our power to the external world, continually in subtle ways blaming other people for how we feel, and not owning our own dysfunction because we've worked so hard. Thank you. I appreciate that, Tech Victor, very much. Yeah, because people are so concerned with upholding their egoic identity of the good person, or the spiritual person, or the nice guy, or the person who cares so much, and yet all around these good people are high voltage emotion, manipulation, deception, lies, secrets, like snooping, like all of this secrecy kind of snooping around, gossipy energy, and yet still no integral ownership of that. And I suppose for me, the power is like continually coming back to self and giving myself the strength to choose my voice, my heart, my love, my independence over my old, like the fantasy gloss that I would paint over situations, because I've been so accustomed to taking responsibility. I've been so accustomed to it pioneering on my own, working on my own, you know, and you know, no matter what, continuing on this path. And as I recognize the completion of one cycle and the birthing of a new cycle, I'm still just gobsmacked, like just kind of like mind blown by the depth of the lessons, insofar as like the depth of my own courage and strength that I know that I have to continue to yoke into because of this world, because of the energy disparity that we're having to traverse, because of the intensity of the perpetuation of a war cycle, and the depth of the suffering of the people of this planet who are powerful and have been taught that they're not powerful. And so good people in fear, good people masking, good people acting fucking shady as shit because they're just like in fear, but trying to like mask the fear with niceness and privilege and positivity, when more and more of us empathic, sensitive people are just like, I have to say, on an energetic level, I find it almost sickly. I'm feeling into it as almost this like this privileged entitlement of just like hiding away in our little like petty communities and like not doing the work and just pushing back. It's resistance, it's backlash on a mass level, right? And I grew up that way. I grew up in that similar white privilege, and I don't want to perpetuate that story, but I'm witnessing it. I'm witnessing in white men around me this deep imprint of control and domination and this resistance to feeling emotion. And again, when I say it's like a deep wound from within the collective human pain body. It's a deep wound within our collective consciousness that we deny the pain, we deny the divine, we deny our connectivity to just try to keep it all safe without having to traverse our own darkness tunnels. And for me, now that I'm so far down my own darkness tunnel that I can't go back, most of us, it's the way it is. Once you get it released, you're just going to be repeating patterns with a certain amount of awareness that you're doing that. So you kind of just have to keep going. And I do feel, I've mentioned this before, that like I've popped out the other side. I'm kind of now just, I feel like just this human in a world, and I dissolved of any labels, just human as one with all, right? So, you know, traverse that dark tunnel, popped out the other side, feel strong and powerful in my own silence and void, in an awareness of what's going on here. And there's a lot of work to be done, and it's not what we think, and people are trapped in thoughts that are limited and shady because our default is to keep projecting it outside of ourselves and to continually disown the fact that it's our own emotions that are creating the shit that we're seeing and feeling and experiencing, you know? I guess all I can say is for us to keep going, because it's all that I can say to myself. It's, you know, sharing my truth from my heart is like all I know how to do at this point, because I feel this age of information and transformation is expanding so quickly and so profoundly that all we can do is keep reaching out and expanding from a place of connectivity and from a place of truth, because everything else is just like distorted. Everything else is just kind of like funky and weird. And part of it is because collectively, en masse, with these perpetual cycles of expansion, more and more people are lifting the lids, and so these these real big portals are starting to open up, and so there's mass confusion, there's mass disparity, there's mass, like, people are just like spinning out but still like trying to bottle it and not open it. And so we're just gonna have to stay really grounded, stay really grounded. And for me, it's like, having the courage to, even inside myself, just call out bullshit, call out corruption. Patterns can die hard sometimes. And I think that's what I'm experiencing, is like the cyclical release of a pattern, the cyclical, like, having to look at something from loads of different angles and be like, that's what it is, So we have to look at the ways we sort of gloss over the present moment, rather than like really dealing with and facing what's true in this moment, and then just perpetually showing up like that in the moment and sharing the authenticity of your truthful connection. So our creativity is the most important thing, our joyful creativity, our juicy flow creativity, that's the most important thing for us to access, to be really aware of the subtle ways that we're trying to get stuff from each other, because that is like hooking into unworthiness cycles. And then the ways we're still perpetuating our abuse or self-abuse patterns by not truly, staying connected to our highest vision, So I feel like these moon energies are taking us, or lifting us up, and creating a lot of turbulence and a lot of kind of emotional volatility in the collective energy stream. At the same time, this heightened conflict is part of the transition to a better world. My vision for this planet is that we don't feel the need to drop bombs on each other anymore. That we find sustainable ways of providing energy to everybody. That we dissolve a system of control and domination because it doesn't serve us. And that we dissolve a false economy because it's false and it only serves dark forces, which have been enslaving humanity for a really, really long time. So the inner grit that is required of us to transform as much of the collective as possible is just, that's what's mind-blowing, is like the depth of my own release and surrender to keep showing up. And part of my empowerment is like looking honestly at the shades and not glossing over them, accepting them for what they are, and continuing to shine and continuing to be true to who I am, because my naive little girl collective, it is. It has to be, right? Because otherwise it doesn't make sense. If we don't look at it from a higher perspective, it's too painful. The mind will just go around in circles, looking at it from a higher perspective as far as our oneness and our collectivity, for me, is the only way to make sense of it. And for any empath to continue to do the work, you have to realize that you're in service to a collective. You're in service to a grouping of humans. And we find each other just by shining out, right? We find one another by speaking and being the truth of who we are. Yeah. And that was something I was thinking about. We must work together as a collective, and we have to get right down to the core of just our common humanity, and intellectually understand and grapple with the fact that it doesn't mean we have to all hold hands and, get along and like each other wholly. It comes down to making decisions based on a common humanity, based on a collective energetic oneness, and then creating and building and structuring our systems from that new perspective. That's the quantum leap. That's what all of this weird stuff is about, is giving humanity the trusted support they need to make the shift, because it's kind of scary because we've created a fucking monster. The system and the system structures that we have in place are monstrous. Yeah, individuality has us chasing our tails. It sure does, right? And that's the disparity I see within the the economy and the business world. And then we have like these spiritual bubbles, which or conscious communities, but just trying to slot that into that economy, because it still affects it, right? So we have a subtle thread of all the spiritual people still acting out in an individual mindset of my business has to, I have to prove, I have to whatever. So there's the true spiritual bypassing to try to fit in to an economy, right? A false economy, which is all about individual fucking power over structure. And it comes from disconnection, right? Which is where someone like me is having to share this process, because I'm in the world being guided to pioneer a new fucking paradigm, and yet traversing this economy, right? And being in my heart committed to not playing the same games that everybody else plays to try to get shit from one another, and having to be completely intuitively guided. So, and again, to me, the new business model is that there are no shareholders. And I'm not a charity, and I'm not a social, I'm a business. And it's a sustainable business that makes money to support the people who work for that business. As a company director, I make the same amount as everybody else that works with me, not for me. And it is beautiful. It's a beautiful learning process, and it's beautiful to be working with people in that way. But the more clear those relationships become, the more obvious the other is to me. And I guess that's just part of growing up. Nice, right? This is the thing of speaking from the heart, speaking from a true connection of common humanity. It just makes sense. The issue I have is that I guess sometimes my clarity and my truth and my honesty, people don't know how to trust it because there's so much in the fear. So I just have to kind of keep, that's something else I'm getting with these energies, these heightened energies, is you have to keep trusting only yourself. And really, for me, it's like, I have to treat my own heart like a fucking precious jewel that must be protected and loved and cared for, and that others around, to be gentle or slow with how I allow people into that energy, because of the condition of the human collective, people, whether conscious or unconscious, they're trying to take, they're trying to get, they try to prove, and so they want that energy. But so much of it is invisible. They don't know quite how to ask for it or to genuinely do the work, and so they find manipulative ways of hooking into it, right? So the internet is a really interesting thing that we've created to help pioneer something beyond like our physicality, right? So by broadcasting a message in the internet, I can allow the other beings who are vibrating on that frequency to naturally find me. That's a part of it to me, is that I don't want to put together marketing campaigns. I don't want to sales pitch people. I just want to be my truth and let the other people vibing on that level to naturally, then we congregate, we start to discuss, we continue the conversation. And we'll just have to wait and see how we're guided, right? We have to wait, allow ourselves to naturally fuse energetically, and then continue to anchor in these new energies. It's intense, you guys. It's fucking intense. But like, I'm feeling fierce. even though it's like, oh, there's a fierceness here. Because I'm not sure that my mind really has any idea, and that my heart now, so my heart shifted in a sense from like, I want to have this and that, and I want to manifest, and I want to, because I want to live this really good life. Now what's shifted for me is actually like, deeper down, like rallying the troops. Protests. Peaceful protests. Big meetings with lots of people. Organizing walkouts. Like, this is big stuff. And like, my body, like, I don't watch the news. Some of you guys know that. And somebody said something about Syria, and then when I went on, I think, YouTube, I saw all the different headlines and some of the photos and stuff. And my whole body was just like, because this has been coming, this intensity, this this war to end all wars has been coming up and coming up. And I think the level of our like blindness and apathy, that is what's starting to like really get to me, and why I have to keep, almost like obsessively, I'm having to keep showing up and keep speaking up, because it's our generation. It's this now that we have to be ready to stand. And I don't know how it's going to look, but I know that the way we've been taught the world is, and the way we've been taught to be, is not at all. And the more people wake up to the corruption that's going on, there's going to be anger, and there's going to be uprising, and serious practical organization and practical techniques is what we need, not sitting around gossiping about one another, and not like talking about love and light. I felt this real shift down to the ground of the earth of helping people get clear so that they can be effective channels of the new world, which means that they stand in the new frequency, and within standing in that new frequency, we shine light. We shine light for all the others that are still in the confusion. Oh, thanks, Tech Victor. It's nice to have you here. It's nice when, yeah, it's just nice. I really appreciate you. Have a great day. New ideas, new action, working like-minded people to establish. Say organize for new ways, new ideas, new action. It does. I guess I want to say you're in America, I feel, Tech Victor, but I'm not 100% sure. I think I had that conversation with you before. I'll check the comments I feel like that was in the middle. We want to establish, yeah, you're in America. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you again soon. I agree, it's really nice to be here live with you. Feels like we're having a conversation. Yeah, just keep going, right? That's all we can do. And keep sharing, because it's by sharing that we like open up new ways. And Zoom. Yeah, let's do Zoom. Message me. Bye.